Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Inner Health Project. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, as always, Hannah Getty. Hello, Hannah.
Hey, Chris. How's it going?
Good. I'm loving this background. If you guys watching this are seeing this background, it's incredible.
Yeah, I changed it up. So welcome to the new background.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like all sorts of cool. Well, let's talk about, I'm excited to dive right in. This is a very charged topic, I think, if we go there. We're talking about thicker skin. I'd love to know how this came up for you. How is growing thicker skin bad advice? Like it's a big bad world out there. We got to have thicker skin to survive, right? Don't we have to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I understand people's intentions behind it are good. Like if you're upset about something or you feel hurt, a lot of times when I was a kid growing up, I was really sensitive and I would just really feel bad coming home. And my mom would always say, you're just going to have to grow thicker skin, don't wear your heart on your sleeve. And I know she had good intentions, but I think that's it's not good advice because it's pushing away the feelings that are coming up for you. Even in my life as an adult, I feel a lot and it's a part of me. And so when I try on that thick skin and try to be tough it out and kind of push those emotions away, it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel authentic to me. It feels like I'm ignoring the wisdom that could come out of feeling uncomfortable or feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. I too was a sensitive soul as a kid, which as a guy was not cool. I think cultural expectations or agreements or norms or whatever, where, a little boy who's crying is not cool. So I too, I think pushed down my feelings, my emotions. And I think that really isolated me. I think I was afraid to be put then in a position where I would have feelings come up. And so I kind of lived in a shell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then as you grow up and as you're an adult, where you're pretending that you're okay. You're like, oh, I'm a tough person. I can take this. These things don't bother me. But they really do. It's just that you're pushing them away. You're isolating yourself from those emotions. So you can't go deeper and you can't find why does this really bother me? There's got to be something at the core of this emotion that is eating away at me. And when I act like I have thicker skin and I'm a tough person, that's kind of lying to yourself and lying to the world, you know? Yeah. I understand. Yes. Sometimes you don't want, if you're going to cry, maybe you just need to do it in private or you need to process things in private. But you can do that without pretending that you have thick skin, that you're right. Okay. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So
I feel like the world is, I feel like authenticity has become a trending word in the last couple of years. Like it's on people's minds. How do we be more authentic? And I feel like I can say it's true for me, but if how you live your life is filtering your emotions so that you don't upset anyone else, like, oh, people are uncomfortable when I cry, or people are uncomfortable around emotions, and I have to always change who I'm being so that other people aren't uncomfortable. Because I think sometimes that's what happens, right? Is like, God forbid you see me with emotion. I'm crying, I'm mad, I'm whatever.
Right.
So we're constantly filtering. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's a good point. Because for me, I'm like, all right, well, I can't let them see me cry, or I can't let them see that I'm upset. But why? Why do I have to pretend that I'm okay all the time? Yeah. Why do I have to act like everything is great and be positive all the time? I mean, I know we don't want to be negative people, but you also want to be truthful and real.
Yeah.
And when you show your vulnerability, or when you express to somebody that, hey, things aren't going the greatest, it gives them permission to tell you the truth and tell you, yeah, I understand. going through the same thing myself, or
Right.
it's like you find a deeper connection in the challenges that you face. And when we grow thick skin and we kind of put a hard shell over how we're really feeling, like you said, yeah, that's isolating.
Yeah. I think that we end up being a bunch of robots bumping into each other. Like we have all of these things going on inside, and
Yeah.
and we keep my thick skin keeps bumping into your thick skin, and then we have these like really inauthentic relationships, business
Yeah.
relationships, personal
Yeah.
relationships. Like nothing's real.
For sure. And I would say, like, this is a concept that I had in my mind, even about business, is like, okay, I have to be a certain way, and I can't be this an emotional person in front of people. I remember I was in a business negotiation, or like a contract, and I was like, this isn't working for me. And I started crying, and I know I felt embarrassed about crying, but it was like, this is a real situation for me, and I can't not, it's just going to come out. Like, I don't know. And maybe somebody would say that that's not, you shouldn't do that, but it's what happened. And it was real and honest and truthful at the time. Sometimes you just can't help it. You can't be a robot.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I don't think people want that. I feel like the more of us, the rest of us, start stepping into the feelings that we have. I think there may be a season of, as you start to step into, or as we start to step into allowing ourselves to feel and express the emotions we have, where it feels embarrassing. We might even feel weak. We might feel not good. Like there's all sorts of feelings that might come up. But I also think go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think that's true vulnerability when you can show people who you are in your worst moments, in the hardest times that you're having, in those emotions that feel really terrible to go through. If you can show people that, hey, I'm going through this, and this is me right now. That's where the authenticity is. That's where our connection is as human beings. And I don't want to grow thick skin. I don't want to apologize for the emotions that I feel, for how I go through life. That's not me. And I understand people are trying to be helpful, but I'm going to give you some different advice. Like, feel what you feel. Go towards those emotions, because they're there to help you figure out the inner work that you need to do to discover, why is this bothering me? Because once you do that inner work and you get through to the other side, that same situation can come up and you don't feel that emotion anymore. It's not charged. Like, if somebody says something to you and you know for sure that that's not true, you don't have to have thick skin, because you know that it's not true for you. So for me, whenever I feel like hurt by people, I keep coming back to, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to have friends. I'm not good enough to have a successful business. I'm just not good enough for these people to like me. And why does that keep coming up for me? Why is that a lesson that I still feel in interactions in my business, in my life? So that's something that I still need to work on and explore.
I feel like the feelings, I'm not a master of this by any means, but I definitely can see it now, where in the past I couldn't see it. That feelings are actually, there's a lesson in it. In what you just said made me think of that, right? Like, what's the lesson in it? It keeps coming up, and there's a lesson in it. And as long as we have thick skin and don't allow ourselves to feel the feeling, then we get to keep reliving this experience over and over again. It's like feelings are a guide. They're a mentor. They're a teacher, if we would just lean into it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
and then
when you can't feel it.
No, you can't. And it's ignoring the signs and symptoms, like when your body hurts.
Yeah.
Like an emotion.
Totally.
It's there to tell you something. And
yes.
I think we need to embrace our different states of being. Like, we're not going to be happy 100% of the time. And so I always get annoyed with the question, are you happy? Or I just want to be happy. It's like, well, but you can't be happy 100% of the time. You need to have those ups and downs. You need to have light to have dark. Like if it was constant all the time, you wouldn't know. You don't know true happiness. You wouldn't know true sorrow. You need to have that duality. That's the type of world we live in. And we need to have these different ranges of emotions so we can, that's what it means to be human.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Seriously. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think too, there's the, you mentioned the body, like, you know, if you have some symptomatic thing in your body and you don't take care of it, it can get worse or louder. And I also think that if there's a feeling and you're not paying attention to it, that feeling builds up over time. I was a great bottler as a kid. So I just stuffed my feelings and it would like grow and grow and grow until it just was like, rah, and it would come out in this big explosive, like anger or something.
Right.
And I think too, our feelings are the same way, like left unattended and not feeling, like with thick skin, those feelings will build and build and build until it like burns something to the ground. You know, it will come out and it will destroy something.
Yeah. When you bottle things up, you're not allowing that energy to express itself. So you're just stuffing it down in, and it's going to come out and explode. And it might show up in a weird way that seems totally unrelated to the incident, or it could be projected at somebody else. So,
by the way, speaking of, you know, the body and physical pains, I know that a lot of times massage is a great relief for that stuff. Like, we store these feelings in our body physically. And it's, I think sometimes massage can be a great relief or even an access point to checking into resensitizing that thick skin, right? Like literally, like this is actually getting very, very literal, but
you can use massage or body awareness, tuning into your body more to figure out what you're feeling. And sometimes when I'm giving people massage, emotions will come up for them, or ideas or thoughts, or just things are coming out for them. And it's like when you're really relaxed, you're in a state where you can accept, if you're open to it, you can accept the wisdom of your body. And we have multiple bodies. We don't just have a physical one. We have an emotional one, an energetic one. So you're in that state where you can invite the wisdom of your bodies to teach you, to bring things up for you. That actually, the last conversation I had with you, we had a pretty deep conversation, and the next day I had a massage, and things were coming out during the massage for me, like just ideas. I know one of them that stuck in my head was, how do I communicate with people? How am I supposed to communicate? And that's been a big deal in my life, is just communicating with people. So it's just amazing how when you sit quietly and you tune in, and then you go into a space like a massage room, and you allow the body wisdom to talk to you. It's just a really amazing experience that it's just awesome. I don't know how else to say it.
I love that. I think too, maybe we can sort of wind down or wrap with some final thought. I feel like where I said earlier, if there's the minute you start stepping into your feelings, it can feel vulnerable or scary, weak, or whatever. But I think you keep doing it and you come out the other side starting to feel the power of it. And you take what felt like a weakness and it becomes a superpower for you. Brene Brown's work about the power of vulnerability is a great place to see examples of this. But people over there on the other side of you feel empowered, inspired, I think, when we start leading from what we feel and not just leading from thick skin. What thoughts do you have about the possibility of being inside of your emotions?
Maybe that's what it is being okay with being vulnerable, and just sitting in that space of vulnerability and allowing that to be there in the world. I know that's something that I struggle with, even doing these shows, even getting up in front of people and speaking. it's difficult for me to be really vulnerable in front of people, and I struggle with it. I'm sure other people struggle with it because I'm gonna cry, but the feeling of not being good enough always comes up. So
Yeah.
guys, I'm being really vulnerable right now.
I know. I love it. I mean, if that couldn't have been scripted better. I mean, did you plan to do that? Did you pinch
No, I
yourself
didn't.
that and make you cry?
No.
Come on, Hannah, have thicker skin. Stop crying on your show. I feel like that's the whole point, right? Is like,
Yeah.
and did you know, that was so funny. It was interesting. Did you notice, like, you're like, hey, I'm going to cry. And then there's this explaining of like, we have to explain our emotions, you know, like that's the whole thing is like, what if we just were going to cry?
Yeah.
Because there was something there, something very meaningful for you in that moment. And I think, and you know, for all of us, there are these things that when we let them out, my experience of you when you cry is not that you're weak. My experience of you when you cry is that you're powerful, which is an interesting paradox, but like that you have the braveness to cry
Right.
in a show of all things, and to let me
It's
see
on
that.
video.
Right? To let me see that, to let us see that, gives me permission to own my own feelings as well. And I think that's where that's where it starts to shift. Like when the cultural agreement becomes it's okay to feel feelings because enough of us are starting to feel our feelings publicly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shift in the agreement culture that it's not about thick skin. It's actually better to feel what we feel and let others participate in that, because that's how we actually get to know one another. And now there's authenticity in relationship, in business, in humanity.
Yeah, to be a witness. We don't have to fix anything. We just have to witness other people's struggles. Yeah.
Totally. Oh, so good. Thank you for having this thought to like share this story. I mean, this is so important, I think. And you talk about inner health, like having thick skin causes so much inner turmoil, emotionally, physically. There's all sorts of ways that then tries to get out, and it creates dis-ease in our lives, I believe.
Right. For sure. So, so for, in closing, I guess, I just want everyone to know that you can go and cry if you want. Like, if you need a good cry, go ahead. And you know, be who you are. Your skin is good enough. You don't need to have any protective layer. You are beautiful in what you express. So just be your authentic self.
Yeah, so good. Thanks, Hannah. That was beautiful. Great episode today. If people want to learn more about the Inner Health Project, or even book a massage through your business, your company, how can people connect with you? You can go to innerhealthproject.com, and then you can also search me on Facebook and YouTube. Just search for Inner Health Project and I should pop right up. Perfect. Good stuff, Hannah. Thanks for your time today. We'll see you next time. Yep. Thanks, Chris.